Buenos Dias Gunners Collective. Back at it, you already know. Like a motherfucking smack. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Like a motherfucking smack addict. Now trip out, as you can tell by that thumbnail, a pimp story. I'm about to tell you guys in a menudo style or direct fashion, a real tale, a real story about a real person. Of course, I'm going to omit some of the names out of the story because it's too hot to handle, too cold to hold. Why don't they call the Ghostbusters? You already know what it is, man. But in a direct style, we're going to get into it. And I'm going to tell you guys, oh boy, wow, about a real story, right? So over the time, I've done a lot of tiempo. Did a lot of time locked up, incarcerated behind prison walls, prison bars, barbed wire, razor, whatever you want to call it. Did what I had to do to secure myself as a grown man, meaning I did the crime, so I did the time. And I'm not the only one. There's vatos going through hardships as we speak, as this is being spoken. These words are coming out of my mouth. People are doing hard time, or they're just doing tiempo as it is. With that being said, here's a story about a man who had a long, hard road, and the road continues. He's still not out. He's a lifer, and let's get into it. So doing time in different states, you meet different people. You know, people of all walks of life. Not people necessarily who I function with or people that I'm used to, but people that tell different tales and people that come from different lifestyles. Now, everybody knows the word pimp, the P-I-M-P. I don't know what you heard about me, right? I've never engaged in that. I've never been involved in that. It's not my stilo. It's not my get down, but I met a real one, and I met a few real ones. And the one that I met is one King SHAWN out of Chicago, a gangster disciple, man, well known out there in the city of Chicago, man, who happened to wiggle himself to the West Coast, the best coast, and leave bodies in his wake. So the story goes like this. This man got incarcerated at a young age for 187. Now, this is back in the days when you catch a case, man, they give you a lifetime term, but you're able to parole out on it, right? So he ended up getting, I think it was 10 to life or 16 to life. This is his story, and this is what he told me, for a gang-related shooting. Now, at that time, he was barely getting into the pimping. His pimp hand was mighty strong, and he had a whole gaggle of bitches out there, right? His thing was pimping. And, you know, I wasn't really up on that. I watched movies, Who's the Mad Goldie, things of that nature, but I wasn't really up to par on what a real pimp does. Now, a real pimp, man, is out there sending bitches, putting them on the strip, putting them on the streets, making his money however he can. Is it the righteous way of doing things? No, but I'm not here to condone or neither to hate on the next man for how he gets his money. To each their own. However they're doing it, they're going to do it. They're going to pursue that life, and that's what he was into. Now, from what he told me is he caught this case, right? This murder case on some gang-related shit, but his pimp hand was already strong, and so he got incarcerated on it and did his time. Now, upon his release is where it gets a little hectic. He gets released on this, and he's not even out 48 hours before he goes to a Burger King. Now, you got to understand he's been down, say, 10 to 11 or 12 years at this point in time. So things have changed in the world. You know, the world changes. And when you're incarcerated and you're doing time, man, you don't necessarily change with the world because this is before cell phones. This is before computers. This is before technology is what it is today. So he wasn't really up to par on what was going on out there on the calles. Didn't have too much of a family reach, didn't have too much family out there lacing him up. So he pretty much went and played it by ear. So the man gets out, and this is a fact. This is a true story. And it's his first day out, or it's his second day out, dispensa la tira, and he goes to a Burger King, right? He actually goes to a Burger King, and he's trying to have it his way like the king. And he walks in and he orders him a number 5 or 6. I forget, man, the exact number, but he orders him something a little tasty. And the guy is an Africano guy who's working behind the counter, hands him his cup. And the guy says, "Hey, man, I said Dr. Pepper, right?" And the guy's like, "What are you talking about, bro?" And he says, "Man, I said Dr. Pepper." Now, the guy hands him just an empty cup. And the guy's like, the one that's working behind the counter says, "Come on, man, I ain't got time to play. I got a lot of customers, bro. There's your cup. Go ahead and handle it," right? And this guy being incarcerated, he takes it as a form of disrespect. He thinks that this man is disrespecting him by giving him an empty cup after the motherfucker specifically asked for Dr. Pepper, right? So in a menudo style, and if for no other reason, he pulls out a banger and blows the dude's shit right off in broad daylight in front of a whole bunch of witnesses in fucking Burger King over a Dr. Pepper. Little did he know, times have changed, and now they hand you the cup so you can fill your own shit up. He wasn't knowing, huh? So anyways, he takes off running out of this situation and goes from state to state using that pimp hand to get money, and gets a whole flock of hoes on his team, gets a whole flock of BIs for the PI on his team, and continues to do it and builds a big name and a lot of credibility behind his pimping. Now, this guy is the one that actually laced me on a lot of these sayings that I say, go get you some knowledge that you can't get in college, man. If you knew better, you do better. Make your next move your best move. Go out there and put hoes in strippers wearing Gucci slippers. This is the guy where I derived that spit from. He actually laced me up. Now, doing time with him, he actually gets caught up and gets incarcerated, but the pimp hand was very, very strong at this time. So now we're incarcerated, and I find myself doing a shoot term with this individual, and he's my next door neighbor. So we would shoot magazines back and forth, chop game up, and he was one of the smartest individuals I knew. And you could tell this man any word out of the dictionary, and he can give you the whole definition of it, what it's about, the synonyms, the pronouns, the verbs, the adjectives. This is just what this motherfucker was on. He kept his mind going, stimulated. He educated himself. And this is because pimping became an everyday way of life for him. Now, I know a lot of you guys from the LA area, from down south, you guys know about the Rolanda Watts show. Okay, this was a show at the time when Jenny, what was her name? Jenny Jones and Ricky Lake and all these different shows, Phil Donahue, back in the days were booming. Everybody was watching Maury and fucking, what's his name? Fucking Jerry Springer and all these other different shows. Well, anyways, she actually interviewed this man via satellite, kind of like a Zoom meeting nowadays or a StreamYard. She interviewed him back in the days about his pimping, right? Because he was notoriously known. And the pimp hand was so strong, she felt that for no other reason, she should talk about his case, what he was incarcerated for. Of course, along the way, he picked up a couple more murders, one of them being chopping a trick and a chick's head off when his money didn't come back right just the way he liked it. So the man was catching bodies. He was truly in the game. He was the definition of a real pimp. You're going to have minds. You're going to bring minds back in a real way. And I seen it firsthand. Anyways, so what happened with this guy was she interviewed him. And it's a story that he told me is when she interviewed him, everything was going fine, man. He explained his story. He expressed it. He was on one of her episodes that never aired. Reason being that when it was aired locally and not in Spencer, it did air locally, but not nationally. When it was aired locally, some of his people, I guess, seen it and got back at him and told him, hey, she slandered your character. She did defamation of character, for which he sued her. Because at the end, this man is now doing 45 to life bid. She actually said that his next victim only had 45 years to live. He took that in context, ran with it, got him a lawyer who gave a piggyback to another lawyer. And next thing you know, he had him a case, and he actually won several millions of dollars when he sued this woman. Okay, now this was his story. I'm just telling it. You can fact check it, do what you want. This is the story that he gave me. Eventually, man, her show went off air. I don't know if it was due to this exact incident, but it went off air. And so doing about a year and a half in the shoe next door to this guy, he told me a lot of stories. And what I got to witness firsthand was some crazy shit. Like I said, man, this was one of the smartest individuals I had ever met. And at the same time, he told me all about the life of pimping. So if there's anyone out there really pimping in a real way, where are your antennas when the pimp game goes? If you're really out there doing it, you will sell your own ass and put your own ass out there on the streets if you need to bring that money back. That's the true definition of a pimp. You know what I mean? The sex sells. They're out there making it any way they can. Now, of course, what I liked about this individual is he didn't condone minors or underage trafficking. This is not what he was into. He was on some grown man shit and some grown woman shit and spinning their mind. He used to tell me if you can get into their mentality, then they'll get real, they'll be a sensation, right? And I used to be like, what do you mean? He says, if you could get into their mentality and spin them up, you can get them to do anything that you want them to do. Now, I wasn't going to take this and run with that because that's not my stilo. That's not the type of lifestyle I was willing to adhere to or live. Okay, I don't believe in using other people to go out there and get my money. I'll go out there and get it by any means necessary myself. Bang, bang, and in that fashion. But at the same time, man, it intrigued me the way he's told stories. He was one of the best storytellers I ever met, besides myself. Bang, bang. But this is what he would tell me. And so how I got to witness this firsthand is one time, this guy would get a lot of mail. He would continually get mail because he still had hoes out there working them stros for him. You know what I mean? He had sat him down in various states, and this is what he was doing. Just because he was incarcerated doing life didn't mean his hand wasn't as strong as ever. And he used to tell me, man, check how I'm coming, man. We're going to make it happen, Captain. And I used to be like, all right, cool. And he was just a good dude to talk to, man. Like I said, he had the great stories. And it passed my time and it passed his time, and we chopped it up back and forth. But one day I witnessed he got mail. And he would get several money orders. And this is back when you would get the receipt for the money order in your mail. And so he gets this money order on his books, and he's yelling at the cop, "Hey, Sergeant, come to my cell," right? And I'm kicking back. I'm ear hustling. You know what I mean? I ain't got nothing better to do. And he tells the sergeant, "Hey, man, I want you to take this shit back and return this to sender," right? And the guard's like, "Hey, you're going to have to do that yourself, but return what to sender? This is a $938 money order. You're not happy with that?" He said, "Hell nah, man. I told the bitch, bring me a G," right? This man actually took that letter, wrote whatever he wrote in it. I wasn't privy to it. I wasn't sold up with them. And he sent this shit back. A few days later, he gets a money order for $1,000. He said, "Yeah, that bitch knew better, so that bitch do better," right? And I was like, damn, she did better, right? And so he got at me and he told me, yeah, this was the art of what he was selling out there. He was selling to be properly, to be laced up, and to be exactamundo, right? To be exact. In a menudo style of direct fashion, he wanted what he wanted. Now, how he was utilizing these women is not a good thing, of course, and I don't condone it, I don't promote it, but it's just a true story and true facts of what a man can do, not even a man, a woman, because women do it too, and how long his reach was. Now, he was a real motherfucker, right? And I asked him, I said, let me know your history, bro. What made you get into this game? I understand that you're a gangster disciple, you're a GD, you believe in that. You got street credibility. You know, you've been murking people from a young age. I could identify with that. I also caught a 187 at a very young age, so I could identify, and I know the hardships and the struggles you have to go through, but at the same time, what got you into that game? You know, because I never once went that route. And I'll tell you a story. One time I lightweight tried to do it. It didn't work out for me. You know what I mean? Had the whole motherfucking car smelling too. We'll get into that. But anyway, so he told me, man, that his father was a well-known pimp out of Chicago. And that his whole family, man, it was a long line of generations of pimps. This is what they did. This is how they laced the youngsters. Of course, he said in the beginning, man, he wasn't with it. That wasn't his style, his program. He was really out there in the streets gangbanging. That's what he wanted to be. That's what he wanted to do. And out there in the city of Chicago, there's plenty to choose from. He actually chose up being a gangster disciple, and he ran with that. And for a long time, that's what he got involved in, and that's what he did. But eventually, over time, man, when your family's around you and when it's in you, it's instilled in you at a young age, then that's what you do. And so he said it was always bred into him. And, you know, and what he did was he educated himself into it. He seen that he could actually do it. And I said, well, what's the whole concept behind this shit? I understand it's money. So at the end of the day, everybody wants to get money. They're going to get it how they get it. But how do you do this shit? So I want to know, right? I'm trying to make some money too. Maybe not in that way, but bang, bang. He said, you have to be everything that she doesn't have. You have to be her father, her brother, her mother, her daughter, her everything, right? Tear her down and mold her like Play-Doh into what you want her to be, right? And that always stuck with me, to mold a person, not necessarily a woman, but anyone, man. Anyone could be anything you want them to be if you teach them. You know, it's just like an animal. You teach them, Sasuke, go potty right here, and they do that. And this is what he was on, teach one to each one, right? And then you're guaranteed to reach one. And this is what he did. So he believed in that. That was every breath was pimping on his, and he was the first time of me ever seeing a real pimp in action and seeing him really do it. Like I said, it was from a prison cell, but he continued to do it like no other, man. And for that, I respect him. I respect him because he was a true believer in his cause and he was dedicated to what he did. Do I condone it? Absolutely not. You know, I got love for women. I don't think anyone should be pimped on or be played out of their money. But at the same time, oh boy, it's what he did, you know, and it's his story. Now, let me tell you how I tried to put that into action, and it didn't quite work out for me because the gun didn't have them skills. I actually get out of prison. It's 2000, 2001, I would say. Oh no, it's actually 2004. And I'm out, I'm running around in the city of Merced, and me and my homeboy Baby, you know, we actually pull up to this house where this fucking tweaker vato lived, and he owed the homeboy some money. So we're actually pulling up to collect a little bit. Ain't gonna be no problems. This vato ain't gonna fight the feeling like Too Short. He's gonna give it up or get ran up on. And the vato's coming out of the house, and there's some chick, and she's on a good one. Right, all in the front. Looks like she was tended to all night, but doesn't look ugly, man. Doesn't have a bad body, ain't toe back from the flow back, so she must have just been getting in her prime because it hasn't affected her forehead and her lip bone yet, right? She still got them cheeks, you know, they're not all sucked in like she was getting caught on a motherfucking crack cocaine case in 2020. Anyways, so the chick is right there, and the homeboy starts popping at her, right? And he comes back to the car, and I'm sitting in the car like, hurry up, man. Just get your little $35 so we can go to the taco truck. You know what I mean? I got a motherfucking lengua burrito with my name written all over its face. And he's like, hey, this chick is talking about she wants to go out to the bicep camps and handle her business. She said $10 a head. All we got to do is buy her 40. So I was like, Yeah, the wind's blowing. Tell her to get in, right? So, of course, she jumps in the car. And immediately, the homeboy jumps in the back seat. Now, the passenger seat is empty. For some reason, no one wanted to ride shotgun. And they proceed to start getting into some extracurricular activities. I don't want to speak too much. The homeboy's now a married man. But let's just say it started stinking and stanking in that place. It was stanking and drinking. Shout out to Dankin' and Drinking. But it was stanking and drinking. There was some drinking of 40s going on and some stanking going on. I wasn't appreciating the way that the car was bouncing. So what I did was I dropped her ass off at the labor camp with all the paisitas. She was going ahead and get her money, and I ain't gonna lie, man, I wiggled up out of there. The homeboy was like, hey, that's our money. I said, no, that's your money. You can stay or you can go. So I was, I'm trying to hit the taco truck. I'm hungry. And air this motherfucker out one time, right? And that was about the extent of my pimping game. I didn't really get into it. It wasn't for me. Maybe it was the smell in the air that day, or maybe it just wasn't my stilo. Anyways, with that being said, I was like, nah, I ain't involved in this. But I always reverted and always remembered back to the words that King Sean told me. You can't make a woman do anything. She's got to want to do it. You can't make a person do anything. They got to want to do it. And that goes with living this life that we live. You know, as far as if you're going to be a gangbanger, a prisoner, someone that's out here doing righteously by your family, you can't make anyone do anything they don't want to do. They're going to do it because that's in them and that's what they want to do. You know, so when you have people that are in the gang life, man, you can really tell, Sasuke, this ain't made for you. You ain't cut from that cloth. Bato, your name's Bennett. You should have never been in it. You can tell. You know, it's not for everybody. And the same thing goes with the working man. There's people every time they get up, I ain't even trying to lace these Red Wings up, man. This is bullshit, right? Red Wings, I thought that was something different, right? You know that they're really not hard workers. They really don't care about that end goal and that end game, which is providing a meal for their familia. You know, they're bitching and complaining about having to get up and go to work and do something. In a man's life, man, you can bitch and complain about going to work, but hey, what's harder is waking up every morning and lacing them motherfucking botas up to go hit that yard, and handle business with a piece of steel, because you're either going to do one or the other, or you're going to come up short in life. That's it, plain and simple, period, man. Ain't nothing in this world for free, and I understood that. And people like King Sean and a lot of other people that I've ran into in life who have laced me up on certain aspects of the game, man, have always instilled that and indoctrinated it in my mind that if I would need something, I got to go out there and get it by any means necessary as myself, you know, and something I truly believe in. Now, of course, my reasonings and my ways of thinking when I was younger were different. I'm not going to say twisted and fucked up. I'm going to say that was part of my life. I was a true believer in what I believed in. But over time, I grew wiser and I changed. And my ways of thinking changed with me. Okay? And now I believe in the push for the people, for the unity of the raza, and for all gente to go out there and get it for the familias and for the protection of our people. This is just a true belief of what I believe in. Okay? But let's always take it back to people that lace you up. And yes, indeed, I wrote graffiti on the bus. I was, and I do give proper fucking love and respect to one Mr. King Sean, that motherfucking Chicago Chirac stand up, because his pimping game was strong, man, and he laced me up on how to spit that real spit. Now, of course, I used it for what I used it for, and he used his for what, and he continues to do his thing. You know, I'm sure he's locked up somewhere right now watching this spill like, this motherfucker right here, he knew better, and he sure did do better, right? He got his mind right so he could shine right. And forever, I will always give him respects for them little inks, the little jewels that he dropped to me. You know, he laced me up. But his story's a sick one. His story's a crazy one because this man never had no chance. Okay, he was raised in a family of pimps, a family of gangsters. And like I said, all he knew was that. So he wanted to be a gangster from a very young age and then gravitated into the PI game to being a pimp. And I remember, man, this motherfucker had all diamonds in his mouth with the word pimping and pandering in his mouth. And I mean, he was just truly a true believer in what he did. His cause was real, you know, in his eyes. But I remember him saying that, and that was something, a lug that he dropped to me that I'll never forget. He was like, if you ever come across a real pimp, he goes, and you ain't gonna come across one realer than me. But if you ever come across a real one, ask him the true definition of a pimp. A pimp will go out there and sell his own ass for a little bit of feria, you know what I mean? And I have, man, I've actually ran into a couple vatos out of Seaside that were real, their pimp hands were pretty strong. And I hit them up and they say, man, indubitably, that guy was absolutely right in what he said, man, and the reasonings behind it. And I said, well, ooh-wee, I ain't trying to go that route, you know what I mean? Hashtag grinder, it ain't me. Anyways, with that being said, I hope that you go out there, you move fast with a purpose, you get everything that you want coming to you for your familia, for yourself, and for those that are around you, man. Remember, always show love to all people and always show respect. That's the main word. That's the key to life, man. Hit that thumbs up if you like this. If you don't, you already know, man, you can hit that thumbs down. Heavy is the head that wears the crown, but I'm going to continue to do what I does because I does what I do. And in that fashion, damn, that motherfucker's pimp pan was strong. I'm glad, hey, so I'm glad he never met my sister. You know what I mean? Like, fuck that. Bang, bang.